Good morning, student. I am Professor Sunita SHIRSAT. Today we are going to learn Oscar Wilde's The Selfish Giant. This is one of the fantastic novel by the novelist Oscar Wilde, and also this is philosophy about life. That means one should be selfless in his or in her life, and in what way he or she should be remain as selfless. This is the story. If you like this story, if you like my video, please subscribe it, share it. Okay. The Selfish Giant is a short fantasy story for children by the Irish author Oscar Wilde. It was first published in 1888 in the anthology The Happy Prince and Other Tales, which in addition to its title story also includes The Nightingale and the Rose, The Devoted Friend and Remarkable Rocket. Now, what is the story about? We are going to discuss it. Actually, the selfish giants appear in Wilde's The Happy Prince and Other Tales, first published in 1888. It is one of his most anthologized pieces and is known for its moral and spiritual significance. The selfish giant is the owner of a beautiful garden and children love to play there after school. But one day the giant is annoyed by the children and constructs a wall around the garden to keep them out. Bereft of children and their innocence, the garden falls into a perpetual winter, but the spring returns once the children find their way back into the garden. Realizing his mistake, the giant announces, "It is your garden now, little children." Years later, after happily playing with the children all the time, the giant grows old and he has profoundly spiritual experience as he meets his end peacefully. Okay. That means this is the story about children's play and about their belonging to garden. When that means that garden was belonged to by one of the giant, and giant was, that means giant announced that first announced that it is garden and children can't play, but after all he and again announced it is children's garden and they could play there. When spring comes, life begins to blossom everywhere except the giant's garden, where it remains winter. A single flower blooms but sinks back into the earth when it reads the sign on the gate. The snow and the first frost decide to stay in the garden and invite the north wind and the hail to join them. Season pass, but it stays winter in the giant's garden. One morning, the giant hears a linnet singing outside his window and is astonished to find the spring weather has finally come to his garden. He sees the cause some children have snuck through a hole in his wall and are playing in his garden. He sees a small boy crying because he cannot reach the lowest branches. This corner of the garden is still covered in snow. The giant is moved by pity, realizing how selfish he has been. He enters the garden. The children flee and winter returns. But he leaves the little crying boy and places him in the tree, telling the children the garden is theirs now. The children return to play and the garden turns to spring once more. The children return, but crying boy has vanished over the years. The giant grows old and watches the children play from his armchair. One day he sees the small boy under the same tree, which has turned beautiful white. The giant approaches and sees the boy has wounds on his hands and feet. He asks the boy who injured him so that the giant may avenge him. But the child says they are the wounds of love, as the giant allowed him to play in his garden. So would the boy take the giant to his garden in paradise. Later, the other children find the giant lying dead under the tree, covered in white blossom. Now, what are the plots? Okay? In this story, there's conflict. A single bedroom opposing focus that drives the action of the story. There's also exposition. There's rising action in the story. That means portion of the story where the conflict increases. There's rising action. And there's also falling action. That means first of all when that giant opposes children to play in his garden and he troubles them. That's the rising one. And after some time he becomes kind. That's a falling action. And last one is there also resolution. There's conflict, that means struggle between opposing forces that drives the action of the story. There's that means we can say the portion of the story where the conflict increases, that's rising action. And there's also falling action, that means portion of the story where the conflict decreases. Also there's climax, that means the peak of action and conflict. There's also exposition, that means the introduction of the characters and the basic situation. That's the exposition. That means exposition is at the very first of the story. Then at the middle, there's rising action and falling action. And last one is the resolution. That means outcome of the conflict. And outcome is a very happy one. That means that monster allow children to play in his garden. So this way the story is very interesting one. This is a fantastic story. If you want to read the story in detail, please subscribe this channel and also read the novel The Selfish Giant by Oscar Wilde. Thank you.